So Camilla's own sister has apparently decided that decades of silence was long enough, and now Buckingham Palace is scrambling because the one person who knows where all the bodies are buried just started talking. Annabelle Elliot, that's the name. If you don't know it, you should, because she's not some random courtier or a disgruntled former staff member selling stories to the tabloids. She's Camilla's younger sister, the person who was there for the fox hunts, the debutante balls, the scandal, the grief, the coronation, all of it. And according to what's being reported, she sat down at a private dinner in the Cotswolds, had a few glasses of wine, and just let it out. Not in a screaming table flipping way. Worse, in a tired, resigned, I've been holding this in for 30 years kind of way. And the quotes that have leaked are the kind that don't just sting, they unravel an entire carefully constructed public image. Before we get into the details of what was actually said and why it matters so much, real quick, if you're into royal deep dives where we actually look at timelines and contradictions instead of just repeating palace PR, hit subscribe to Crown Watch. We break this stuff down properly. Okay, let's get back to it. The line that's causing all the chaos is this. Annabelle allegedly told the table, she's not the woman the world thinks she is. She's changed. Or maybe this is who she was all along. Now, on the surface, that's vague enough. Sisters have falling outs. Families disagree. But Annabelle Elliot isn't just any family member. She's the one person who has watched Camilla's entire arc from start to finish. From the private family dynamics of the Shand household to the coronation balcony at Buckingham Palace. She was appointed a trustee of the Prince's Foundation. She's been on private retreats, family vacations inside the inner circle. She's the vault. And the vault just cracked open. What makes this so much more damaging than a typical tabloid story is the source. If a former butler says Camilla is controlling, people shrug. Staff always have stories. If a biographer writes that Camilla was strategic, people say, well, that's an interpretation. But when the sister who stood by her through the affair, through Diana's death, through the public hatred, through the rebranding campaign, through the wedding, through the title negotiations, through all of it, when that person says she's changed, or maybe this was always who she was, that's not gossip anymore. That's testimony. And the details from that dinner have only gotten more unsettling the more they've leaked. According to the reports, Annabelle wasn't just talking about Camilla being difficult or demanding. She was describing someone addicted to control, obsessed with image and status to the point where even close family felt disposable. The quote supposedly was, "You have to understand she never lets things go. Not slight, not insults, not old gossip, everything is calculated, even kindness. That's not a sister venting about a holiday argument. That's someone describing a fundamental orientation toward power." And the fact that it was said not with anger, but with exhaustion makes it land completely differently. It's not a rant, it's a confession. She sounds like someone who has been holding up a facade for decades and simply ran out of energy to keep doing it. Then there's the Diana part. And honestly, this is where the story shifts from palace drama to something genuinely heavy. Because Annabelle reportedly brought up what it was like to watch Princess Diana fall apart while the people around her stayed silent. We all saw it, she allegedly said. We saw how broken Diana was, how isolated, and we remained quiet. That's a direct quote according to the sources. And then she went further. She allegedly said that Camilla showed no remorse during those years, just annoyance that public opinion had turned so harshly against her. While the world was mourning Diana, Camilla was focused on repairing her own image. No reflection, no apology, no stepping back. The line that's being repeated everywhere is Diana was a storm Camilla waited out. And when the world calmed, she slipped right back into place, closer to the crown than ever. If Annabelle actually said that, and multiple sources are claiming she did, that's not just a critique of her sister's character. That's an indictment of the entire strategy that rebuilt Camilla's public standing. It reframes the whole rebranding project, not as a woman earning public forgiveness through patience and good works, but as a cold, strategic waiting game. Just wait for the outrage to burn itself out, then step back into position. That's a very different story than the one the palace has been telling for 20 years. And the timing of all this is worth looking at because it doesn't seem random. For years, Annabelle was the silent loyalist. Never a peep, never an interview, never even a hint of disagreement. So what changed? The speculation from people close to the situation points to a few things. One is that Camilla's behavior reportedly shifted as her public role expanded. The family friend described it as she became harder, less forgiving. The power wasn't softening her. It was revealing something. Annabelle, who's described as observant and introspective, apparently noticed the change and didn't say anything for a long time, but it wore on her. There's also the Kate Middleton factor. Several sources have suggested that Annabelle developed a genuine fondness for Catherine, a woman often compared to Diana in terms of grace under pressure. Watching Kate navigate the same institution that once chewed Diana up may have stirred something. It may have made Annabelle reflect on her own role in the past, the silence she maintained, the protection she offered her sister while another woman was being destroyed by the same machinery. One insider claimed that Annabelle said over brunch last autumn, Diana never stood a chance. She was too open, too human, and we were too afraid to defend her. That's not a passing observation. That's guilt. That's someone looking back at the most consequential royal tragedy in modern history and admitting that she personally failed to act. And then there's the family politics. Camilla has reportedly been pushing for her own children and grandchildren to receive more royal recognition. That's been a point of tension behind palace walls for a while now. For Annabelle, watching her sister use the monarchy to elevate her own bloodline, potentially at the expense of William, Kate, and the memory of Diana may have been the final straw. It's one thing to support your sister's rise. It's another to watch that rise become a dynasty-building project that sidelines the actual future king and his family. The sources say Annabelle became increasingly uncomfortable with what she saw as Camilla's desire to rewrite the family tree. And if you've been paying attention to royal dynamics over the past few years, that tension has been visible if you knew where to look. The distance between certain family members at public events, the seating arrangements that seem just a little too deliberate, the way William and Kate's children have been positioned versus other relatives. It's all there. The palace response has been predictably nothing. No official comment, no statement, just silence. But behind the scenes, it's apparently chaos. Camilla is reportedly furious and blindsided. Communication between the sisters has allegedly stopped entirely. One source put it bluntly: the Queen is outraged. More than that, she is afraid when your sister starts talking. Who knows what else she's been keeping quiet? And that's the real threat here, isn't it? Annabelle wasn't just a bystander. She was present during the Camille tapes era. She was present when Charles admitted his infidelity to the world. She was there when Diana sat alone in St. Paul's Cathedral and when her coffin moved through Hyde Park. She knows what was said in private rooms, what letters were written, what decisions were made. There are rumors she kept journals. If those exist, and if she ever decides to share more than a few wine-fueled comments at a dinner party, the damage would be catastrophic. Let's talk about what this reveals about Camilla's actual rise. Because it's easy to forget how unprecedented it was. The woman went from being the most hated person in Britain to queen consort. That doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen through luck. It requires a level of strategic patience and image management that is almost unheard of. After Diana's 1995 BBC interview, when she said there were 3 of us in this marriage, Camilla didn't fight back publicly. She didn't give interviews defending herself. She went silent. She retreated. And while the world assumed she was hiding in shame, she was apparently building alliances inside the palace, developing relationships, securing loyalty. A former royal aide admitted she played a long game. While Diana was raw and emotional in public, Camilla was collected and strategic and private. She let the criticism burn itself out. She waited. And according to what Annabelle is now suggesting, that waiting wasn't passive. It was calculated. Every move was part of a plan to eventually stand next to Charles on the balcony with a crown on her head. Even the Queen Elizabeth's statement about it being her sincere wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort, which many people assume was the late Queen's own idea, is now being re-examined. Insiders believe Camilla lobbied tirelessly behind the scenes for that endorsement. She leveraged decades of quiet influence to get the final stamp of legitimacy. And once she got it, once Charles became king and the crown was placed on her head, the mask reportedly began to slip. Staff at Clarence House in Buckingham Palace noticed an immediate change. Requests became orders. Appearances were carefully choreographed. The push to elevate her own family intensified. The woman who had spent decades being patient and deferential was suddenly in charge, and she wasn't going to waste the opportunity. Annabelle apparently watched all of this unfold and until now said nothing. The effect on William and Kate has been interesting to observe. While Camilla's reputation is taking hit after hit, the Prince and Princess of Wales have emerged looking stronger than ever. Not because they've said anything they haven't, but because the contrast is doing all the work. Camilla's legacy, built on strategy and control, is being contrasted with William and Kate's approach, which is built on duty and stability. Kate has never needed to play power games. She's never pushed for titles for her extended family. She's focused on her children, her patronages, and modernizing the royal image through consistency rather than manipulation. And according to insiders, she was privately deeply affected by Annabelle's comments about Diana. Not because she felt vindicated for herself, but because she felt vindicated for the principles Diana represented. Compassion, vulnerability, honesty, the things that were apparently missing in the room while Diana was falling apart. William, meanwhile, is reportedly more protective than ever of his wife and children, especially Princess Charlotte. As speculation grows about Camilla's private ambitions and her family's role in palace politics, William is apparently focused on securing a different kind of monarchy for his children, one that echoes his mother's legacy rather than his stepmother's. Public support for William and Kate has surged in recent months. Charlotte's honorary title and her carefully planned public appearances have been received warmly. They represent optimism and continuity in a moment when the rest of the institution looks fractured. And that's the irony of this whole situation. Camilla spent decades climbing toward legitimacy. And just when she seemed to have secured it, her own sister may have kicked the foundation out from under her. The question that keeps circling is why Annabelle chose not to speak, or even if she intended to speak at all. The dinner was supposed to be private, the Cotswolds manor, the old friends, the wine. None of it was meant to leak, but someone talked. Someone decided these words were too significant to keep confidential, and once they were out, there was no putting them back. Some people think Annabelle might eventually deny the leaks or claim she was misguided, but the sources say she hasn't done that. The silence from her side is almost as loud as the silence from the palace, and in the absence of a denial, the quotes just hang there, gaining weight. There's also the possibility that Annabelle has more to say. The rumors about journals and letters are persistent. If she documented her observations over the years, if she wrote down what she witnessed during the affair years, during Diana's isolation during the rebranding campaign, that material would be explosive. It wouldn't be interpretation or speculation. It would be a first-hand account from someone inside the room. The palace knows this. Camilla knows this. And that's why the fear behind the scenes is reportedly so intense. This isn't a finished story, it's an opening chapter. Annabelle has demonstrated that she can speak. She's demonstrated that what she says carries weight. And she's demonstrated that the carefully maintained silence of decades can break in a single evening over a few glasses of wine. The broader implication here is about the nature of loyalty in the royal family. The firm has always relied on discretion. Family members don't talk. Staff sign NDAs. The whole system depends on people keeping their mouths shut. But when the person talking is family, when it's the sister who has been the most trusted confidant, the system doesn't have a mechanism for that. You can't fire your sister. You can't exile her without creating more scandal. You can't sue her without making everything worse. Camilla is trapped. The one person she probably never imagined would turn on her has done exactly that. And there's no PR strategy that fixes it. You can rebrand a mistress into a queen consort with enough time and patience. You can't rebrand your own sister's testimony, and the public is paying attention. Polling already showed Camilla's popularity lagging behind other senior royals. This isn't going to help. The court of public opinion is fickle, but it has a long memory for hypocrisy. The story of Camilla as the patient, misunderstood woman who earned her place through quiet devotion is now competing with the story of Camilla as the calculating strategist who waited out a tragedy and manipulated her way to a crown. One of those stories was carefully constructed over 20 years. The other was apparently confirmed in one dinner party by the person who knows her best. That's the asymmetry that makes this so damaging. It took decades to build the image and one evening to crack it. What happens next is unclear. Annabelle could retreat back into private life. She could issue a statement. She could say more. Camilla could try to repair the relationship or could freeze her sister out permanently. Charles is caught in the middle, aging and tired, trying to balance the woman he fought to legitimize with the family he needs to protect for the crown's future. William and Kate will likely say nothing and continue doing what they've been doing, which is quietly building public trust through consistency. But the damage to Camilla's reputation is done. The carefully crafted picture has been revealed as just that, a picture, not the full reality. And it came from her own blood. That's the part that stings the most. Not a journalist, not a rival, not a former employee, her sister, the person who stood beside her through everything, the person who, according to her own words, saw what was happening and stayed silent out of loyalty until the weight of that silence became too heavy to carry. Annabelle allegedly said, "I loved her in my own way, but I did not protect her, neither of us did." She was talking about Diana, and if that's true, if she's carrying that guilt after all these years, then this isn't just a story about royal drama. It's a story about conscience finally catching up to someone who thought she could outrun it. The world never forgot Diana, and apparently neither did the woman who watched it all happen from the best seat in the house, the seat right next to the woman who would one day wear the crown. Now that silence is over. The vault is open and the monarchy is holding its breath, waiting to see what falls out next. The truth has a way of surfacing eventually, no matter how carefully it's buried. And this time it surfaced not through leaked documents or investigative journalism, but through the simplest, most human mechanism of all. A sister who could no longer carry the weight of what she knew.